when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers. Oh, it's a dreary May day outside. I needed to dance. I needed a little boogie. Hope you got yours as well. It's your chance to dance as well as talk about books. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm here with Lana Bashinsky. Hi, Lana.
Hello, good morning. I'm sorry that I sent some of the Pacific Northwest dreariness your way. We must have stolen some Colorado sunshine. It's beautiful here. Absolutely gorgeous.
Wonderful.
So I'm having a good one, but you know what? Still needed the dance. Always need the dance.
Always need the dance. Hey, we're excited. We got 3 chapters to dig into this week of Midnight Tides. Good ones, too, if I may say.
Oh, my goodness. Juicy. Delicious.
Real good ones. We got war. We got comedy. We got all kinds of craziness.
Faces. Well, maybe not faces. Familiar names. Names.
And familiar names that I have been butchering, according to Mr. Erikson.
I loved the one comment that was like, wow, I've never seen him care about any pronunciation.
It's so funny because it's not a character that I would have thought would have elicited that reaction, but evidently I've been doing Miss Shirk's name incorrectly, and I feel bad.
There was one other person in the comments who clearly kindred spirits, because they wrote Rudalali, golly, what a day. And finding out that it is a lol, let me tell you, a slight disappointment, because I have been singing in my head genuinely Shirkalali, golly, what a day, like this whole time. And now ruined.
Even corrected, I'm not entirely certain I'm going to be able to do it. It has been so ingrained in my head now, and I feel so bad. When the author has to come in and be like, okay, please stop, please. For the love of all that is holy, please stop.
Look, I really don't care, but something about the way you do it, I really do. I really do.
It's never bugged me before, but you two, I can't. Well, apologies to everyone. We had that other comment, I think it was last week, that somebody was like, hey, or no, a couple of weeks ago when we did the reading, somebody's like, you guys should do a full audiobook of the Malazan Book of the Fall. And I was like, oh, clearly not a good idea.
Not without support. Community vote and perhaps advice from Erikson himself. Well, yes. How do you want us to say it? We'll do our best.
Have never pretended to not make tons of mistakes. We're along for the ride on our bumpy journey through lots of mistakes.
Thanks for bearing with us.
Thanks, indeed. Okay, so we always start the show with a non-spoiler topic, and the best weeks, those non-spoiler topics are suggested by you. And we have a great one suggested by a listener. This was sent in to our email address, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. This comes from Wilson, who says, hey, Jeff and Lana, I just want to thank you for a great read through. I look forward to a new episode every week. Your guys' enthusiasm for the series is a real treat. Here's my pre-spoiler topic. One of my favorite things about fantasy authors is that each one has their thing. That one thing they always go into loving detail describing. For George R.R. Martin, I think it's the food. For Robert Jordan, it's the clothes. And I think for Erikson, it's the swords and armor. If you were a fantasy author, what would be the thing that your readers would be speed reading through to get to the plot? Keep up the good work. And hello from Alberta. We miss you, Lana. Thank you, Wilson. I don't know if I completely agree with the premise. Do you speed read through certain sections when it's like, bogged down in the minutia of that particular fetish of an author?
I would have been like, nah. But then not to get here again, but it's the easy touchstone because so many people will know what I'm talking about. But I read Brandon Sanderson books and I read a bunch of them. and they go by so fast. And then I listen to an audiobook and I realize there's a lot of sections that I skim. Because listening to it in audiobook form, read slower than you could possibly imagine, feels like unbearable tedium. And then I realized, yeah, there are definitely sections that I would say I speed read through them, but I feel like I get it. I get what I needed from the sections. And there are some people who care about the intricate, specific math magic of the world. That's not me. I don't care about math in this world. So, it's that's just not where my head's at. I love this.
If I don't like real math, I'm not going to like fantasy math.
Yeah, make art, not math. That's what I always say. I love this question, and when we first read it, because we've been collecting them, right, so we don't forget them, I was like, oh, I'll never be able to answer that one. But I actually feel like I came to my answer super quickly.
Yeah.
In that I am an animator by my craft. That's like the thing I know the most about. And so I feel like I'm very inclined to say that I would spend a lot of time in the details of action, whatever the action may be. I feel like movement, like knowing what people are doing, where they are and why, I feel like would be really important to me. So that'd probably be my number one thing. But then the other thing that I would probably do is descriptions of how people take care of the thing that they love.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Specifically, I think about it through there's a talk given by a guy, a buddy of mine, Ryan Duffin, but before I knew him, that was talking about sort of through the lens of game development, respecting the player and loving the things that they love, because the person who loves that thing will notice when you're doing it wrong.
Right.
And then I can imagine writing and trying to show somebody loving a thing without doing the research to understand or spend the time to show how that person cares about that thing in a way that somebody else who cares about that thing will be like, yes, wow.
Yeah.
And everybody else would be like, weird, moving on.
Right. Yeah.
Something that I would probably do is write how somebody takes care of curly hair. That is a huge part of my life, and it takes so long. I had to wake up extra early this morning. It's a huge hassle that nobody cares about, but somebody else with textured hair might be like, hey, yo, I see that.
I think about that all the time. Especially even reading these books where it's all the things that Erikson has to sort of be an expert in, or any author, really, any author that is describing something, because I think about that all the time. There's going to be 6 people that are the super deep dive experts in that one that you talk about, them getting on a plane and talking to the pilot. There's going to be pilots of planes that read that. And that's not how pilots behave. That's not what they're,
that's not
whatever
what those
it is.
Are. Yeah.
There's some person whose their entire life is that thing. I think of that because, I grew up fascinated with computers and being very deep into computers. Everybody knows computers now, but, in the early 80s when I was growing up, it was a niche of a niche, right? And there would still be movies where they would talk about it and you'd be like, ugh, clearly this screenwriter has no idea how any of this works. But there's that for every single thing. There's not a thing that somebody isn't a complete expert in.
Yeah. There's something about there's a cobbler out there listening to the way somebody wrote making a shoe.
Yes.
That is the same energy as that scene from, I don't know which CSI, where they're hacking in and then 2 people go on one keyboard to try and counter hack the hack. There is that.
Because that helps.
That helps. That helps. You can counter hack easy like that.
Yeah. And also 2 people on one keyboard makes it better. That's double the effort.
There is that ridiculousness. For everything.
Yeah, I agree. And you feel that responsibility, I assume. So that doesn't really answer this question, but I do like that direction that you took it. I don't know if, for me, I try not to skim over anything when I'm reading. That's why I'm so slow. But I don't know if it would be Swords and Armor for Erikson. I think the thing for me that I have a hard time grokking and that I ended up just being I don't need to know all the details of this, is he gets very detailed about precise army formations and movements. And I appreciate that he put all the thought into that. And I appreciate that there's somebody who's like, yes, I can graph paper it and I can figure out exactly where the armies go. But for me, I'm like,
one of the things I want to call out is I feel like there's a difference between like skimming something or not, like skimming. I don't think is like fair. Well, I feel like there is definitely times where I like skim things, but I also think there's a way to write where you can show the care about a thing and you can go into detail about that thing without it being overwrought.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Erikson's writing, it's not that it's overwrought. It's that it's something that slips off my brain, no matter how clearly it would be said or no matter how concisely. It's just like not something that I retain. I am the issue.
Yeah. Clearly, we've established that in the show, I think, over 5
water,
books
though.
so far.
Water in the book. Important.
So anyway, to answer this question directly, finally, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's for someone else to decide, but I will say, when I was doing the dungeon run, and I was the DM of the dungeon run, it kind of became a recurring gag thing that I always described the smell of a thing. It kind of became a catchphrase of mine where I said, the first thing they notice is the smell. Because I very much subscribe to that notion of, use 2 senses in any description. Try to describe things in 2 senses, not just how it looks, but use, maybe the temperature or, how it feels under your hand. Or I feel like two senses minimum is more evocative. And so I was very much into describing the smells of things. And maybe that would be the thing that people would skim over.
I can't wait for paragraphs of the odor.
I mean, not wrong. Very evocative sense. All right, we got lots to get into. We got 3 chapters. So let's do spoilers starting now. We're starting with chapter 17 of Midnight Tides. And we start with our boy, Tehal, who's now been assigned not 1, but 3 guards to protect him. And not a fan of them, and this wonderful, goofy notion that they all look the same and he can't tell them apart, and maybe they can't tell themselves apart.
I was like, is it really 3 more brothers? We're doing another 3 brothers situation for the 3 brothers?
It is funny.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, the 3 brother motif.
Yeah.
The book is called Midnight Triplets.
Stop.
No, I'm just kidding. But very funny, I thought. And also this whole scene where he's like, that homeless person just fell into a canal. What a fool.
I was laughing. My husband was like, you have to shut up. I was laughing so hard. It's like, just let me read it. It's like the first part. You're caught. Just read it. And he's like, I'm not going to have you read the whole book to me. Just stop. I'll read it in a second. So funny. And how that whole scene, every time Tehal says something, he is like, isn't that horrible? And Bug's like, yes. He's like, imagine how horrible it is for me. It's like,
yeah.
He turns it every single time. It's like so, it's so funny. I just
it's really
love
funny.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And he's named his bug. He has a bug, and his servant's named Bug, and he has a bug, and he names the bug after the emperor or the king.
The king.
Yeah, very funny. And he says that Shirk, last name ? Is going to break
Shirk
into
E? Not to be confused with the other Shirks.
Yeah, is going to break into the Toll's repository, which we know because he laid it out to her in that previous chapter as being impossible. And a very funny little tidbit about how Harlist showed his fangs to Ublala Pung, and Ublala sealed him in the sarcophagus. It's like, I don't want to see that.
He's like, what happened to Harless? What's wrong with Harless? He's like, oh, well, he sealed it. It's like, oh, that's fine then. The lack of care for the fact that he's now in this thing, whatever antics the kids are getting up to, Tehal's like, they're fine. Put some dirt in it. You're good.
So funny. And then we have this interesting little tidbit, Bug, the manservant is, he's got layers. And we see that Tehal notices that he's got scars over his body, but he notices because he fell into the river and has to change clothes. Or the canal, I should say. So, this guy has seen some stuff,
I don't know. I still don't know what Bug is, but I know he's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing I know about him is that he is something.
Yeah. Anyway, so they arrive at this old market and they kind of have this little beautiful musing about the poor and they're trying to shuttle these refugees through the tunnels to get them out. And the Tail's like, Bug, you gonna lead these people away tomorrow? I said, yeah, as long as they don't worship me. Like what?
Well,
Okay.
I thought that was like a interesting way of saying that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he said, hey, come in here and you're gonna be their god or their king. It was like you're just gonna come in and these people already look to you as a leader, so you're gonna lead them across. And him jumping to like, I don't want them to, as long as they don't worship me, seemed like a very precise sentence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Precise.
So you're thinking that
on
it's
Bug's
more
part.
clues that Bug is something grander than what he is.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm like, have we met a god that has a name that's similar to Bug? I remember the cruel K. Krull situation, and I was made a joke about it, and it literally was that. So I'm like, I don't remember names well enough. Normally,
is there a Baug or something?
Yeah, is there? Exactly.
Right.
But that's the vibes I'm getting from this guy.
Interesting. Next scene is Brisk heading over to talk to Kuro-kan. They outline basically what's been going down, which is, we're bad things for the Letheri, which is, Fent Reach has surrendered, Trait has fallen, High Fort is going to be under attack next. Queen Janal's army decided to retreat. And Kuro-kan is like, yeah, I can't unleash. The thing that became very apparent over these 3 chapters, which I didn't pick up on earlier, is Kuro-kan is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
The Sita is a Sita for a reason, or Seda, or whatever, how we're pronouncing that. And everybody's like, why hasn't the Seta unleashed the massive amount of magic these guys? Like, I'm tired. I am not prepared. I must conserve my power to the right moment. But he's able to do some crazy stuff.
Damage. Yeah.
And he's talking about how, like, why isn't there a hold of death? Why isn't there this hold of death? Which is foreshadowing to what's to come in just a couple of chapters, or these chapters. But he's like, there should be a hold of death. I don't get it. Which very interesting stuff there.
It is interesting. Was this alluded to earlier in any way? Like,
probably.
We know. I know. Probably. We know as like a reader that we're like, well, there must be, because there is.
Because Hood
exists. Yeah. And then it makes me just be like, where in the timeline? There's like some things that in this chapter I was like, we got some timiness going on with, the Menendore and her assault of Unas, but then the kid being there and grown, but it is only 7 weeks old. But like, there's just like some timey stuff going on that makes me wonder if we really are like far back in time or not, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was briefly like, are we watching Hood get born? But then later,
I don't know if it's. I don't know how Hood plays into it, but certainly we see the birth of the hold of death just coming up in just a couple of scenes.
Yeah, I know.
So,
but at this moment, sorry, I'm sort of walking through it not with like all the knowledge I have of the chapters, but like in this moment, I was. It really made me question where are we? When are we?
Well, then we have this wonderful moment where Briss is like, yeah, and it's super weird that Kettle is undead, and he's like, what? Kettle is undead? It's like, yeah, I definitely mentioned that, right? I definitely mentioned that Kettle and Shirk are both
Zambi
undead. And he's like, no, I would have certainly remembered that.
And he's just like, well, let's go.
Yeah, we're out of there. Let's go check out on him. So they head over. Meanwhile, Shirk wants Kettle to help her recruit ghosts of the Azath Tower to break into the repository. And it's awesome because all the ghosts are like, yeah, we're definitely doing this.
I like their reasons though. She's like, why would the ghost want to do that? She's like, so they can look at all the money. and scare people. That's fun.
They
It's
love
like
scaring people. They're like their
they don't
favorite thing.
they don't know that they want to do that yet, but I know that they do. And it's just
Yeah.
like such a cute reasons. Why would ghosts want to do things? I don't know, to look at it, scare some stuff.
Yeah. They have she's like, well, how would they even scare stuff? They can't be seen by people. She's like, we see them. And also they could like move stuff around and that would be super creepy if you can't be seen. It's like classic ghost stuff, you know?
Yeah,
Ghosts love that.
You don't even know how to be a ghost. You're just killing people. You're not scaring them.
Yeah.
You're too into the murder part, Kettle. But then
Yeah.
she says, why? Like, are you seeing them less than this, or is it Shirk who asks Kettle that about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because Kettle is changing.
Yes.
We see her. She's like coming back to life.
She's got a slow heartbeat.
Slow heartbeat. We get the feeling that it's not her heart, that it was a heart that was implanted in her.
Mm-hmm. A nameless one.
Yeah. And she's, it does seem like she's coming back to life because of the being selected by the Azath hold. So then we were in her POV in Kettles, and she sees her Uncle Briss show up with a guy she's going to start calling Grandpa because he's a little older. I love her. It's so funny. And she's like, "Oh, hey, I recognize you from when you were trying to spy on me." He's like, "Spy on you? What?"
She's like, "Yeah, you weren't like here with like these eyes, but like definitely looking at me."
Yeah. It's so awesome. Like he's been looking through the sedents or the sedents.
Yeah.
And she says that the nameless ones took her body, and he's like, "Nameless ones? That should what? They shouldn't have outlived the first empire." Yeah, yeah. And then she has this very cryptic thing about this pretty man who has lots of girlfriends and boyfriends.
That's got to be the consort.
You think?
Yeah. So he has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And lots of boyfriends too.
Yeah, I definitely thought that of that guy. But I started thinking, is there, I felt like it was more powerful than that. Like it was a god that was visiting her.
Well, I felt like the mystery of the consort and him being kind of sly and seeming like he doesn't seem to like really like the queen. Like, who is this person?
Yeah.
He just struck me as like somebody who has a mystery around him. And I was like,
right.
Here's us showing this. So I think, why not both? Maybe a god is visiting her, and maybe that god is that guy.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think you could very well be right. The writing implied it could be a pump fake.
It could be a pump fake, a feint, as Erikson would call it. So then Kettle walks over to her friend, the barrow of her friend, who transports her into this place, vision, whatever you want to call it. There's lots of corpses, a black mountain smoking in the distance. And the friend says that a Jagat is about to seal all of everything they see in ice, including their spirits. The Wyval and the valley. And then there's this really interesting moment where the friend, she's like, "Oh, by the way, the Azath Tower is dead and is turning into the hold of death." And they're like, "Oh, really? Surprising. I did not know that."
Yeah, so that it makes it seem like it's not the friend is not the person who's beneath the tower knowing that they're going to get out.
Right. The friend being surprised that that's happening surprised me because it feels like, oh, they should know that.
Yeah. It was one of those things that made me want to be like, what if we if I went back and read is it the prologue again? I know we look up and they're like, "Hey, there's that guy up there. What's he do all the ice?" Do they see somebody else, or is this just like a glimmer in time, like a little? They're looking at a slideshow, basically, or these moments always make me want to go back and be like, "What was that exactly?"
Right.
But I do resist. I do just try and retain what I can retain and go on forward. Do you have any thoughts on who the friend is with that as a question?
I do not. I
Mm.
am curious, but and I think that the reveal of that will be a big deal.
Yeah.
I think that's a major thing, and it does seem related to Mael, the ocean god, elder ocean god that we know from the prologue, and that now Withal is praying to and hoping will show up. So I think there's some tension there that
Mm-hmm.
is going to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Then we have the wonderful ghosts attacking the repository scene, which is so fun and funny. And Shirk is talking about this to this one ghost who used to work there and is like, "Oh, I remember this place. This is so fun. I'm going to go look at my money."
Oh, they added shelves. Oh, that's nice. Oh, but look at this. There's dust here. Dust is bad. Dust could be set on fire so easily.
It's so great. It's like, this is a fire hazard. A fire hazard.
So it's like, I feel like it's like that. There's these moments that feel like so cinematic and silly, like beautiful
Yeah.
cutaways where it's almost like, hello? It's like, are you there? It's like, all the voice going like, yeah, I'm here. What's no, not everything's fine. No, we're
Yeah.
not in the bank.
Yeah.
Everything's good. It's just like this chaos explosion of like trying to wrangle these ghosts that are not like, oh, the ghosts of wicked people. They like want to look at their coin. That was their coin. They
Yeah.
want to just possibly.
Yeah, they're just back, just having fun. It does seem like a scene from Ghostbusters in the best
Yeah.
possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. All right, then we're back to Briss and Kurokan, and they're kind of putting all the pieces together. Kurokan talked about Roulade coming back to life. That he's like, that's weird. That shouldn't happen to anybody. Anybody that's murdered multiple times should not be doing that. That seems bad. And they're trying to kind of rectify everything that's happening or rationalize it in context with this seventh closure prophecy. This prophecy that the empire, the first empire, will kind of return to power. But he's like, maybe we've read this wrong, and it's kind of a bad prophecy for us. We've been thinking it was all good. Maybe the second coming and the throwing all the people into the hellfire, that's bad.
Maybe we're the people that get thrown.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak too far ahead, but it is interesting, like the idea of like, oh, here's this prophecy, and it just like nestles right in with like what Letheros seems to be, and that it must be good for us.
Right.
There's like an
Their
ego.
hubris.
Yeah. It's
Totally.
great. And like a lovely thread through these chapters.
Letheros as a creation, as a fictional creation, I mean, not that far from America.
Oh,
but, just exquisite. I mean, as a metaphor for what's, the real world, I just think it's so evocative.
Yeah, me too.
But then there's this really cool moment also where Kurokan is like, yeah, there's these other names that I've never heard before. Barghast, Jag, Trell. And I was like, we know something he don't.
Am I more powerful than the Seda?
Yeah. So it feels like that's another clue that this is temporally earlier than much of the other rest of the series that we've seen. Because it's like these other races have not ascended into prominence, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I took from it.
It just, to me, like these chapters started feeling like I could just picture like, the lacing a shoe and like bringing together like two pieces of leather with lacing. It just feels like
two pieces of Letheros.
Two pieces of leather. Feeling like it's being brought closer together and strung closer together with like things we know filtering in tiny little bit. Ooh, I like it.
As do I. Then we have another very funny scene where Tehal and Bug, or Tehal first, Tehal first comes into contact with Rucket again, the Rat Catchers Guild chief inspector, and she is a delight. She just like she's just like, I want to go on a date with you. She's just like completely tactless, like, what's wrong with your clothes? Just funny. It's just funny.
See, that's so funny I picture her being like very like cutting and dry, but in the same way that Tehal is, where it's like, what's going on here? We're going on a date.
Oh yeah.
It's like
she's
it's like a collected, it's like an intentional bluntness that the next couple scenes are like wacky in a way where I was like, I don't quite understand what the heck just happened here.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
It does feel like wonderful comic relief. And then he's like, let's go to this place called the Trampled Peacock. And she's like, why would you want to go there? And he's like, I own it. I own that place. I just love the name.
I don't know anything about it. I just own it.
The Trampled Peacock. What a name. I love it so much. So Bug shows up and they all head over to the Trampled Peacock. And lo and behold, the three horny ladies are there. Chandra, Sara, and Hejun.
One sec. Do you think if he owns it, he named it and it's like a symbol for Letherus?
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I did not
out.
put that together, but that's real good.
Anyway,
it does feel right.
They're at his establishment.
Yes, and I just love Tehal's like easy breezy lack of concern for everything. He's like, oh hey, it's these ladies that hate me and want me dead.
Oh,
let's pull up a chair.
I didn't even think that they'd be here. So crazy.
Party for 5, 6. Let's do this.
It's so. This whole scene was like, and now they're brawling, and they're gone.
Yeah.
I felt like I just like, other than the fact that it was like the moment of like, strong female characters coming together and then just like having a fist fight, just like, and now they're friends. It's like that. I feel like it's a scene that I've seen a bunch of times with like dudes, then we hit each other and now they're buddies. I like this element of like this happening with all these babes, but it's like, what? Why are they fighting? Just because they're mad? Everybody's mad. But why would the rat catcher care about these people? It was like wacky.
It was wacky. I had this image in my head of, I love how Tehal and Bug are always at the center of chaos and just sort of standing there like, well, how did all this happen? And I had this image in my head of an old movie where, our main character is standing there and the bar fight is happening all around. The people are getting smashed over the head with bottles and falling from the rafters and landing on and they're just standing there like, what? How did we? What? Well, maybe we should leave.
Oh, I love the part that they were like, we really almost ate a real meal. I don't know. Anyway, seems like we shouldn't stick around. Get out of here.
Oh, dude. We totally left out one of my favorite things of him coming out of the canal with the headless skinned cat body.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That someone had used as bait for something. Like it had a hook in it. So it was like being clearly used as
to like catch
bait for one
something
of the giant,
else.
Yeah. Amazing. And they're just like, this is awesome. We'll rinse it off and we'll have meal for a week.
Like 3 days.
Wow.
Disgusting. Disgusting.
So funny.
But the reason that they start fighting is like the 3 girls are just like sort of constantly mad at Tehal, and they're like, and they took Ublala from us, and now he's got a girlfriend. Let's get her. That's like what happened, right? There's not something I missed in there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Reckitt's like, I imagine. I mean, I don't think this is explicitly said, but I imagine her being like, I went on a date, and this guy got 3 other chicks that he's going to pull over to our table. So funny.
So ridiculous.
Anyway, that's how chapter 17 ends. They're like, well, let's get out of here.
Oh,
he's like, Tails like, hey, maybe we should pick up some of the broken wood to use as firewood at home. Like, we destroyed this tavern, but maybe we can use some of the kindling.
He described it as something like, oh, there's firewood generation happening in there.
Yeah. That's so funny. All right, so chapter 18 starts, and we're in the POV of a random Narek youth, and they've sort of survived that horrible sorceress explosion that we saw last week, and now the Narek are dreaming, which is new for them. And
also old for them.
right.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
And he sends the knife sharer off to find Hull Benedict. So that's interesting.
Well, that whole scene I loved because it was like they were able to survive the absolute onslaught of sorcery because Mayan blessed them on their
Right.
arrival,
Yeah.
which it made this consecrated ground, awoke in their minds, and then it calls back to iron bars being like, we don't know why the Warrens suddenly started working over here, but now they work.
Right.
And to me, this was like Mayan was the one who basically activated Warren's working because this was like how the Narek used to travel, that was like a massive part of their religion that they believe in.
Yeah.
And she would, by inviting them in, she was able to spark that flame again and sort of reignite the magic or the access to the Warrens, not just for the Narek who were like, oh, we'll be able to find them. There's ways to travel.
Yeah.
Which to me said Warrens. And then it also was what let the Crimson Guard folk be like, oh, finally, let's get out of here. We got Warrens also. And I don't know why. I'm not going to ask why. Let's go.
Yeah. Well said. The chapter 18 as a whole, and 19 as well, but chapter 18 and Trull's progress through it is one of my favorite chapters of the novel so far. It's just so awesome. And Trull being this voice of dissent amidst this sort of snowballing war and chaos, and his brother being the emperor and all this stuff, and him just being like, is anybody paying attention to what's going on here? So awesome.
Becoming aptly named the Denier in like the name that is so much larger than the moment it was named after.
Well, we start with Fear pulling Trull into this secluded area so he can be like, I'm gonna murder you. And Trull's like, oh, you're gonna try to murder me? He's like, stop voicing doubts all the time. He's like, why aren't you voicing doubts? Why isn't anybody else voicing doubts? And they have this wonderful kind of tete-a-tete with him saying, yeah, you're gonna have to stab me in the back because you wouldn't be able to fight me one-on-one. He's like, yeah, I will stab you in the back. I'll murder you from behind. I don't care. I just want you to shut up.
Well, I just love that he's like you don't like having questions about this. And he's like, you bowed to him too.
Yeah.
And it was like this mob mentality of like everybody seeing their warlock king, the person that they all, were following, Neil, and just like everybody being like, well, he seemed confident, so I guess I have to be confident. And then being in this situation because nobody was like, wait a second, like nobody thought we should take a beat to think about this. And even just the progression of that conversation is sort of like talking through those points, Fear revealing, he has this rage, obviously, because he kind of feels that too, but like he can't let himself.
Right.
It's like self-preservation mode, clearly, and caring so much for their people and like their way of life, that going from like, I will kill you to only voice the doubts to me. So he went from, I'll kill you, don't say this anymore, to, okay, we can talk about it.
Yeah, shut up around the other people. Yeah. Don't sow dissent among the troops. Yeah. And then, chapter 18 is just so wonderful. We go into, I don't think we've ever been inside this POV before in this book. A POV from Morok Navath, the Prince's Guard.
Yes.
Who, and this wonderful moment of everyone, all the highfalutin Letheri, upper echelon, just being so confident, we've been through this before. It's just another people that will be wiped out by the inevitable power of our potency.
And then like even being like, walk me through what could possibly happen. What if they did this? Well, we'd crush them. Well, what if they did this instead?
Yeah.
Knowing that. Well, we'd also crush them. That's what I thought. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Everybody knows we'd crush them.
What about their magic? It's like, yawn. All the magic cancels out. And then we just have to stab them in the face because all the magic just is magic on our side, magic on their side means zero magic total. It's just so great. And then at the end of it, Morok's like, wait a minute. Something seems off.
Something feels magic-y.
Yeah. And then we get some just incredible battle scenes.
It was like refreshing. It's been a minute since we've had like a big battle scene.
And this feels like a very different one. I love the notion of these conventional warriors standing there with weapons ready to go, and then side by side, shoulder to shoulder with wraiths and spirits and also demons. Like they summoned demons to help out too.
I was like, okay, they summoned demons and then gave them armor.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, did they BYOA?
Possible.
Like a summon.
I would.
They put out the summons and they said, "Come prepared, baby.
Yeah,
it's a fight.
We're summoning you." But
or
like
they were
also,
like, they showed up and somebody's measuring the arms of the demons and making them little pauldrons. You know.
Amazing. So we have this initial blast of sorcery, this wall of fire that the Lethari mage cadre unleashes that is met with this wall of sort of black tendril ghost smoke energy that collides, and there's bones being flurry of bones flying through the air, obliterating people.
Where did all the bones come from? We don't know, but there was bones in there.
Yeah.
So many bones.
Yeah, well, there's this description of like 1,000 pickaxes attacking the ground. So I feel like the bones were sort of unearthed and erupted into the sky. Just awesome. And it kills 2 of the 4 mages from the Queen's mage cadre. And then this demon comes and smacks a 3rd mage, and then it gets murdered. Killing it gets killed, and we have this awesome like back and forth between all of the the force. You don't get a sense of like who's winning in that moment. It's just like this crazy chaos. And I don't know if it's right here or just about to happen. Oh yeah, we switch over to Troll for a second, and he's like in the chaos.
Yeah.
In the S, just blood raining down, bones raining down. Moccasins are squishing in the gore, all of it.
Ugh.
He's watching the demons battle.
He is stunned by the magic as well. He was like, where did that come from? What is going on? Well, he knows where it comes from, but it's horrifying for him as well. He
describes some smells.
Oh, he gets in on the smells.
Gets in on the smells. And then, but I love how we go back to Morok Navath's point of view, and he's like, "This is bad. I pulled my groin."
Yeah, he's like, "Time to get out of here." Well, like, go find the queen and like try and protect them, but immediately he's just like, "Ay,
I pulled my groin.
I should have stretched.
That really hurt. I really should have stretched." Hey, you know what? If you're going to battle a demon wraith, soul-taken army,
no matter how confident you are,
stretch.
Just do a couple stretches.
It's always smart.
Yeah.
Stretch before and after. But I love how he sees the 4th cadre mage get impaled by a spear. And I immediately was like, that's Troll.
Yeah.
That's because he's the spear guy.
He gets impaled by a spear, and he's like, that spearman, he's moving as fat. He looks like a blur.
Yeah.
And just seeing Troll being a total badass is like,
but it's awesome that we get it from a POV of somebody who doesn't know who it is, but we, the readers, know who it is. I love stuff like that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also cool to see because, like, we know Troll, like, fought the Jack in the Ice Waste, but we're like, but is it a fever dream? Is he really fighting them? Is he that good? And then he's like, even him to fear being like, yeah, but you could never though.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, he that good, baby. He that good.
He literally is the dude that takes down the last mage and like bends the spear by lifting him up in the air. Just so rad.
Yeah.
So then, Troll is climbing up corpses to kind of look at the field and sees the Letheri fleeing and they're winning the day. And that Alrada On person comes up with this massive wound. And he's like, oh, go get yourself healed. I think we're winning. I'm going to go talk to my brother.
Well, doesn't he talk to Morok first? Where he's like, kill me. He's like, you don't actually look hurt at all. He's like, I pulled the muscle pretty bad. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to kill you. And he's like, what? And he's like, we're conquering, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to conquer our subjects, honey. You got to serve. And it's like a moment where you're like, oh, that's like the reversal. That's what like the Letheri have done. But also he's like, you'll rue the day. And he's like, maybe, but for now, sit tight. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. He's like, and they capture the prince and the queen. Trait, High Fort, and Fort Shake have all fallen. Edor winning the day. Edor, it's Edor day. And then we have Chef's Kiss, one of just my favorite things to happen in this whole novel, in this whole series. I absolutely adore the next sequence where Trull approaches the demon who's dying. And in what other novel or fantasy series do you have compassion for the demons? Just, I mean, we've seen it before. We've talked about it with the Panny and Doman, in previous novels, and just the most objectively heinous, objectively objectifiable people. You can just say, oh, you are pure evil. You exist simply for us to be able to kill you as fodder and not as readers even have to think about it. No conscience. Erikson says, no, wait a second. Think about it. Consider. And I absolutely love it.
Well, I think it was even your favorite quote from last week or the week before that was like, what is a demon?
Yeah.
But something from somewhere else that we're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
And then
that we're using.
Yes. Yeah. And then Trull talking and it being like, yeah, I mean, where I came from, I cast nets. And now I'm here just doing my best. Not like a really good fighter, but go team.
Just absolutely beautiful. Trull's commitment to not letting this demon die, and the humanity in that, the compassion in that, the symbolic obsession that he has. Well, it's an obsession. It's a real obsession, but it's symbolic of his inability to allow the atrocity of all of this to go unchecked. Like he's the only person who's like, we can't be like this. A demon named Lilac.
And the Lilac being the netcaster, I don't know. I know that it said that the whole group was extinct, but in my headcanon, maybe Lilac becomes something more. In my headcanon at this moment, Lilac was one of the catmen who threw nets, and we're all perished within the nets of on the cliffs of that one place. And at one point it describes like Lilac's face as having like a wide nose. In my brain, I'm like, cat face, cat man, cat demon.
I don't mean to just repeat myself, but it's so special.
Yeah.
Like these novels, the way we are constantly reinforced with this notion of compassion, of seeing beyond the trope, seeing beyond the thing that we're always shown in fantasy novels, the thing that is so obvious and taken for granted. Erikson forces us to stop and recalibrate our notions about things, recontextualize. It's extremely special to be able to read these novels and have that experience in the context of a demon who he's like, I'm not going to let this demon die. And going up to the first healer, and he's like, I want you to heal a demon. And she's like, I'm not doing that. There's actual people that I need to heal. I'm not going to waste my time on a demon. He's like, all right.
And he's like,
he smacks her.
Yeah.
Which is intense and,
he's immediately in trouble for it. It's like you're going to hit like our most powerful people, the women in the tribe, who are clearly like the Krishnan or whatever.
Yeah.
They're mages, for the sake of this demon, not even one of us.
Right.
Like, this is what you're putting your life, your heart into in this moment.
Yeah.
And there's like this, like, fear tries to like grab him and be like, hey man. And he just like squirms away. And he's like, I'm finding a healer, and pieces out from there. I'm not
letting this demon die because of us.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally does find a healer who's willing to heal her. It's Hanradi Kalag's older sister. She's like looking for her sons, and he's like, help me. She's like, I'm looking for my sons right now. He's like, I need you to heal this demon. She's like, fine.
Well, to me, she was like, fine, but it also seemed like she had a moment where she like saw to the heart of what was happening and cared for that.
Right.
It wasn't like, I'm doing it because it's convenient. There, he's healed. Leave me alone. It seemed like she was like, I see this.
Yeah.
I felt like she saw his compassion.
Yeah, exactly.
And cared for it.
I agree. I had that same feeling that she understood what it meant to do this. And she even explains that the demons' names have a meaning, which is something along the lines of to sleep peacefully. It's just like, oh my gosh, they're like these lovely creatures that have been conscripted into service to be horrible demon warriors. Mm-hmm. Incredible. And even the demon is like, you can't heal me. You can't heal me. I'm going to be the guy that didn't die on the battlefield like all my demon brothers. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, I'm healing you. And then he's like, goes back.
Well, he also is like, I want to free the demon. And they're like, oh, wait, we cannot do that.
Yeah.
That is a step too far. We thought healing was too far, but we're not just going to like let it live its life. Get out of here. And he's like, okay, I guess. Yeah. And even the woman whose name I immediately forgot, the Krishnan who helps heal, even she's like, okay, I'll heal. I see your compassion. He's like, and free the demon. And she's like, absolutely not.
She's like, what? No, then we get into real trouble. That's not good.
Yeah, even she was like,
He's like, all right, fine. I'm going to get my brother to put him under my charge, and then I will make sure he never has to fight again. Mm-hmm. So he goes over to Fear and he's like, let me have the demon. Fear's like, fine, have the demon. I don't.
You think I care? I don't. That's why I didn't want you to heal him, because I don't care.
It's so beneath me. We see Prince Quillis and Queen Janal have been captured. Queen Janal is bleeding. Her like beautiful, pristine armor was useless on the battlefield. Or like
she like didn't have a helmet because she just like looked nice, and so she has like a big head wound.
Yeah. And then we find out this really creepy tidbit where Roulade is like, I want the queen and the prince for myself. And Troll's like, that doesn't sound good.
Retro.
Yeah. So we don't get any payoff for that in these chapters, but I'm curious what Roulade wants to do with and or to them.
Yes.
So then Lilac is like, hey, I smell the. Oh, sorry, did you want to say?
I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting because he must have like the knowledge that the crippled god has about this, but my brain says, oh, maybe he thinks that they would be like a bargaining chip. Meanwhile, in like one of the previous scenes, the king is like,
I don't care about them.
Let them get attacked. We're not going to go give them extra support.
Possible situation
they could
is that they
die,
both
and
die.
that would be great.
So, my horrible wife and idiot son dying on the battlefield. Good day for me. Yeah. So Lilac smells this river and wants to visit, and Troll's like, sure, man, let's go. I want to give Lilac a nice day. And they see these giant catfish, which I think are the same giant catfish that we saw Karsa Orlong fight, right?
I would say 100% based upon what comes in the next from Roulade.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lilac is like, you stole my death.
Well, doesn't he bring up the catfish because a troll like puts his hand in the water and he's like, it's cold. And he's like, aren't there like those catfish in the water? Because where we're from, they will eat you whole, baby.
Yeah, they will eat a demon. They will eat a demon. Yeah. And then Fear comes up and says, yeah, look, I found this cool sword from the Lethari. It's pretty rad. In fact, it's so rad that it resists magic. And he's like, why do they get cool steel? Why do they get awesome swords? I want awesome. We should have awesome swords.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really cool insight into what feels very much a metaphor for modern American culture, which is like, where they're very forward thinking. They're always trying to innovate. Innovation is like their jam, but to what end? You know?
But I also just liked it. I liked through the lens that Fear came up and he looked really mad. And I was like, oh, he's got a sword. And Charles like, I'm not going to pull my spear on him. He's going to stab me. Ugh,
Yeah.
whatever. But like, he comes up to just basically be like, you see this? The hell?
Look
See
how
this?
awesome it is.
And he's like, I just like the lens of, yeah, they're looking forward and we look back.
Yeah. Right.
And like both of those things, they're innovating. So they get these new things. We care so much for history and tradition, which, you know, outside of like the context of what's happening like with Roulade now is kind of like, oh, that's nice. They're both like different ways of living. And then it's like, but both of them, you could see the weaknesses. The Letharus is like their weaknesses. They're constantly innovating. They're overconfident and jerks.
Yeah.
And we are thinking
soulless, kind of soulless. Yeah.
We are thinking so far back and care so much about history that we all kneel to this possessed guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, in the course of this conversation, of course, Troll pisses off Fear again and he swings the sword. And then Lilac is like,
ooh, so good.
You will not kill him. I steal his death now.
I just
so
love
rad.
that Fear's like, it's that moment where he's like, Gah! And like eventually tries, and then he's like, just kind of like wilts. It describes him as like trying to like wrestle the sword free, being completely incapable, and then just like giving up and being like, well, fine, walking away.
And I like how Lilac is like, I steal his death. If you try to kill him again, or if you try to strike him again, I will kill you. Yeah. Just be aware of that. Mm-hmm. So cool. And he says if Benatus were here, he would kill you. Yeah. Which is pretty rough. I don't have a sense if that's true or not. Do you think it is?
Well, Benatus is the mage brother, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one that Troll was like, hey, before you start casting the magic to like shatter this thing, like just think about it for a second. And he's like, it's too late. No thought. Only zaps.
Right.
So I feel like he says that maybe not because it's true that Benatus would feel these frustrations, but because he follows.
Yeah. And then Troll basically just collapses into the river and starts crying. And we have this lovely moment where Lilac puts his hand on his shoulders. Like, do I love this demon now? Am I like,
buddies?
Is this the coolest one of the coolest characters is a demon named Lilac?
Sweetie pie.
All right. Just lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And so when the demon is like being the most human person.
Yes.
It's just
great. That's how chapter 18 ends. Chapter 18, a banger as far as I'm concerned.
Banger.
19 also pretty intense and awesome. We start with this really awesome moment. Just kind of like, I just love that Erikson takes the time to give us just a moment of Udanas watching the sharks when the sharks bite. You know, he's just watching the sharks and kind of thinking about, man, nature, huh? How about nature?
Hey, so these is feasting all morning. Dang. But they're like feasting on corpses that are floating down the river, right?
Yeah. Because of the war. Because it's like, it's so rough that there's just like, it's feeding time for sharks. And he walks back to the camp, goes into, Roulade's tent, I guess it is. where Hanag Mosag is still there. He's got his back to him, but he has this notion that, man, that guy's manipulating Rulad, and Rulad doesn't even know it. He's like, he still wants power.
Well, I just like the observation that he's like, yeah, he's something else is going on that's giving him all like this confidence or whatever. And this is the scene that's like, the fact that like, well, I'll just talk about it and then I'll talk about it. But he gets in there and, you know, Hanan Mosag is like manipulating him, and Udanas is like, yeah, he's like still like a 16-year-old kid in there. He's just like the youngest boy at heart, and now he's this ruler with all this power, and of course he could be easily manipulated because at his heart his brain is not like prepared for these parts of the world. But then this conversation that he walks in on before he is able to sort of Rulad asks him, he's like, he's manipulating me, isn't he? And he's like, oh, well, he's not that much of a dummy. But before that, Hanan Mosag is like, well, what should I do? And he's like, well, use your magic, man. I don't care. We'll make after this is all over, we're gonna make some boats, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna conquer some more. And then he's like, well, what about if there are no boats? And this whimsical notion, well, use your magic and find a place that's got water and pour it into a desert. Make water. Yeah. And it's like this. A first thought that came to my mind, how do you get water? And it's like setting up these messed up warrens and this messed up desert that we've spent books dealing with. Yeah. That to me, this is like Rulad just being like, well, just do something. I don't care. Pour them together.
Just mess it all up.
It's the fact that all of that is rooted in this. From my perspective, I assume that
the sort of childish man baby, you know, who has power being like, I don't know, screw something up. We'll see.
I was like,
awesome.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I had that same thought. It's like, wow.
And so definitely the same catfish is what I'm getting at.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because he just poured water in there.
Yeah, he just poured them out.
Yeah. And then we have this, this whole scene is so cool because everybody's in there. Udanas is in there. Featherwitch is in the back, just completely beaten to within an inch of her life. Just been her life turned into hell because Mayan's life is hell. And we have this moment where Mayan completely blows his S up and is like, hey, ask him if he's possessed. And Rulad's like, what? He's like, yeah, he's possessed by the Wyval. Featherwitch told me. It's like, oh, I had this moment of like, she's just saying it. She's saying the quiet part loud.
It's so well set up because they continually talk about her. I mean, it's so interesting that we've never like been. Mayan has always been at arm's reach, at arm's length, and seeing her character growth and like wondering what her motivations are. And is she actually flirting with Rulad? And does she actually want this? No, she doesn't. She's disgusted. She like what's happening. And then now her beating Featherwitch and being this apathetic person. It's like, okay, clearly this is not the life that she was hoping for, obviously. But like the way that has impacted her, and just the frustration that then sows in Rulad, making him take that and be like, ugh, I'm so mad at you. There's no way I can believe you. Everybody's lying. The only person I care about is Udanas. Shut up. Get out. Yeah. I just loved that dynamic because I thought the same thing, that I was like, oh man, Udanas, that's it. And then it was like, no, these bridges have been burned because she's white nectared herself and she's not being a nice wifey to the emperor, that even when she's like trying to like do something, say something, even just to sow chaos, she's like, it's impotent in the face of the teenager. I just really, I loved the dynamic of the scene and the tension there. Ooh.
So good. And you totally know that in some horrible moment, Featherwitch is getting beaten and she's just trying to give some sort of kernel of information that might
stop it,
placate the Mayan and show some value and stop the beatings
distract
and
her.
yes, exactly. Oh, and none of that spelled out, but just so clear. And
Mhm.
and Featherwitch, it comes from Featherwitch's hate. Like, I'm gonna screw Udnas over because I hate him, because I shouldn't even be in this situation.
I should be
the one.
possessed. Yeah.
Exactly. And just that betrayal, and Mayan, like, her hatred in that moment of like, oh, you like him? Guess what? He's possessed. Maybe ask him about that. Just
Mhm.
like all these sort of spiteful, and it's all hurt people.
Yeah.
It's all motivated. It's all grounded. It's all, we understand it on a fundamental level. Nothing is arbitrary, and nothing, honestly, as vile and hurtful and egregious as the behavior is on all sides. I still feel compassion.
You can
I feel compassion to Mayan. I feel compassion to Featherwitch. I feel compassion to Rulad. I understand why they are in these places that they're in, why they're doing these horrible things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's incredible writing. And it's so powerful to me that you don't just have these two-dimensional villains. You don't just have these even three-dimensional villains. It's like, it's not just three-dimensional. It's not just I understand. It's I feel empathy.
Yeah.
To someone that is doing the most vile stuff, to just beating her slave, right? Like, there's nothing I should feel empathy to
For Mayan.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
That should be well over the line, and it is. But like, I also am like, hurt people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Powerful stuff, and we haven't even gotten to the Saren Pedak stuff yet.
Oh,
which is like another layer of compassion and humanity. Anyway.
Yeah.
So then we have this awesome moment where Rulad's like, all right, everybody shut up. I'm going to prove it. I'll conjure a wraith and have the wraith check.
So good.
So good. So good.
Wow.
Come on, Wither's like, I volunteered.
And he's like, we were wondering, could he tell the difference between like one of the rays that has to listen and me, free spirit? I guess not, baby. Let's see. Are you possessed? I'll never tell. It's so good.
It's so good. Rulad's like, everybody shut up. Wraith, you tell me. And Wraith's like,
Hey, what's up, brother?
I got you, bro. High five. So great.
I love that even in that moment where Udnas is like, right up to this precipice of discovery and what that would mean for him.
Yeah.
Instantaneous slaughter, surely. And even then, Wither shows up and he's kind of like, ugh, like a little bit of an eye roll in there, even in the fact that
he was like,
definitely saving his ass.
Sweet release of death. That's all they
it
found
can
me out.
Be over.
At least I don't have to worry about anything anymore. Just kill me. Oh God, Wither's here.
Thanks, Wither. Thanks. Great. Yeah, no, great. Love it. Great.
So, I mean, that whole scene is just masterful. Okay, so then we head over to Saren Pedak stuff. She's still with Iron Bars and Corlo. They're watching this abandoned farm burn. It's just awful. They're seeing the real kind of ground level, pedestrian level destruction that this war is, has wrought.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about these, the horses and how they have these terrible saddles.
Loved this Letherus, this like, we've seen the swords. They're like innovators. They've got money. They think they're the conquerors, the champions of the world. Meanwhile, somebody they're trading with, they're like, oh no, this is the best stirrups. Nobody makes better stirrups than these.
Yeah.
And then
you've been using stirrups that don't rotate?
Rotate?
You're dumb.
Wait, one's that like keep your foot in? No. That's not how the best way to ride is.
Not cool, man.
I was like cackling
Yeah.
about them getting got like this. It's so funny to like this, like so petty to be like, "Ugh, these conquerors. We go, you're the best ones. Yeah, give us your money. Ugh, leatherous.
We will take
Boo."
all of the best things, including your saddles. Yes, our saddles. That one especially.
They're like, knock all the bits off. Knock the bits off. These are the ones. Oh yeah, really curved on the bottom. Really gives the stability for the real. And then Sarah being like, "Oh, that's why our cavalry is useless, bro."
Yeah, that's why we're idiots. That's why our parades suck.
Yeah.
60 years of
Everybody
shitty
like
parades.
slipping around, being like, "Well, I can't stay on the whoa."
It's so funny.
It's
It's
so good.
funny. Just crappy parades for so long.
And then they were like, "Yo, how did you like learn?" And she was like, "Oh, one of the blue rose."
Yeah,
Or
Blue Rose.
Blue
I had a
Rose
boyfriend.
folks. And then her being like, "Oh, he was once my lover." And it's like, Sarah, girl,
Yeah.
were you in love with that guy too, or did you just like tuck your hair behind your ear and say, "There she
It's
is"?
like, let me teach you how to ride a horse, baby. And we have this. I didn't mean that like you took it.
Sorry.
There's this interesting tidbit too where Iron Boz is like, "You remind me of my great granddaughter," and she's like, "You got a great granddaughter?
Are you like 30?
That's not. That seems so
Incorrect.
Something's going on with Iron Bars."
Is her? I mean, Iron Bar. Something's going on with Iron Bars, and then I'm like, who could his great granddaughter be? Do we know? Like, I'm so bad at names. I don't even
Candy
know why I
bars.
sit there and like try and think about who it could be because I'll never pull it. But
You didn't catch my little joke there.
candy bars.
You did, but you didn't even acknowledge me. I must be acknowledged.
Wait, candy bars? Oh, because she's sweeter and because she's younger.
Granddaughter, little candy.
Cute.
Sorry. All right.
The Sarah
And his great grandson hum a few.
Oh my god! Horrible, horrible.
Sorry.
Oh my god. But one more moment here for Saren's Blue Rose lover.
Yeah.
Iron Bars was like, "What did you say? What did they look like?" They were not human. They were taller.
Yeah.
Mm.
They worship the black winged lord. I was like, that sounds like Animander Rake, yo.
Yo, that sounds like Animated Rake.
She was all up with a Tisti bros.
Yeah.
Definitely, right? Come on.
And she's like, "Yeah, he was so annoying because it felt like, he's been through all this before."
Yeah.
It's like,
right. He's all mopey all the time. I'm like, that's Tisti to a T.
I just love that Tisti very distinct features such that in a loose description, you're like, that sounds like a Tisti and they're like, no, we're Blue Rose.
We're Blue Rose.
Can't you tell they clearly all just picked a flower? They're all wearing, this is our uniform from our city. Silchus who?
Then Corlo comes up, and Corlo does not keep secrets. Corlo's not your friend. If you're Iron Bars, Corlo's like, "Oh, he's avowed. You want to know what that is? I'll tell you exactly what it is."
Yeah.
I was a little bummed that avowed is like a descriptor for a group rather than I thought he was the avowed. Like I was thinking like he's special, but it's kind of rad. They are this group of people that has sworn to return the prince to power after Kellanved ousted him. And I love how Saren's like, Kellanved? Never heard of him. I'm like,
I know. I was like,
never heard of Kellanved?
I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. But very cool that there's like this group of super badasses that are still avowed, have taken vows to bring Prince Devore, Kaz Devore, back into power, which is pretty rad. Then Saren goes walking off on her own, still having a hard time of it, and comes upon these Tarthanol statues that are oddly hot and are burning the ground around them.
That was everything about these statues in the next couple scenes. I'm like, what's going on here?
I don't understand it. They were given a lot of attention. I don't know what they mean yet.
I was just like, well,
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird.
Let
Yeah.
that one sit back in the old the backlog of the brain.
I was sort of reminded of Karsa Orlong's little
Faces in the
statue
rocks.
ring.
But there's only 5.
Yeah. I know it's not the same one, but I don't know.
I
There's something
got the same vibe. Same vibe.
Yeah. And then we have this complete departure into this dude bringing poop to the statue.
Oh, well, okay, well, yeah, let's do that, and then I want to go back to Serendipitous after, because
for sure.
the poop statues. Is this the last scene in the chapter?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah.
We go back to Withal. Remember?
Oh,
we have
yeah.
Withal stuff. Yeah. But I don't know. This old hunch Arbat guy is like, I bring the poop and pee to the statues, and that's my job.
I was just slopping them up, boys. Gross.
I don't get it. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to say about Saren, and this could be, again, Charlie Day, red yarn craziness. But one of the things about Saren that was interesting is she showed mercy when her assaulters and iron bars was going to kill them brutally.
Right. Yes.
And since then, she's like, I kind of regret, like, what if I had peeled their skin off?
Right.
What if I had, and then they went and, did they do the assault later? It was with all, like, the with all stuff, the last thing.
No, we go back to Saren, yeah.
Okay. Well, I forget how much is left in the chapter. So I'll just wait until we get to that point.
Well, that's fine. I mean, the Saren stuff is so powerful because she's really is struggling with this turn to the dark side, right? She has gone through so much. She has been so damaged that she has these impulses now that it's hurt people, right? This refrain that is happening in these chapters of she is so hurt that only thing that makes her feel or only makes her dampen that feeling is to hurt others. It's so powerful.
Yeah. I have a thought about it, but I will wait till we get to the chapter.
Okay. Well, we go to Withal, who's now got a girlfriend, I guess, much to his chagrin.
What's it called? The hero's journey where they don't want to be the hero. He's that, but for his girlfriend.
Yeah, the reluctant
boyfriend.
Yeah, she's just standing there naked, like, can you give me some clothes, please? And he's like, he's
been praying for 2 days. He's like, I'm not religious at all, but Mail, where you at, my guy? I'm gonna sit here for literally days. Well, she's like just a cloth. Just what? Come on.
It's so funny that she's just been standing there, like looking at him, like, do anything.
Yeah.
Do something, you idiot. And he's like, I'm not looking at her. And she's like, you've been gawking at me for days. He's like, what? What are you talking about? I have specifically not been doing that. I love Withal.
Yeah. And she's like, why don't you just want to get me some clothes? This is ridiculous. You think I like this? I don't like this. He's like, why don't you just go ask the God for them? And she's like, what God? And she's like,
the God in the tent.
The guy in the tent. That guy, he just laughed and choked at me.
It's like, that does sound like him.
Yeah,
does.
I mean, he is the God, right. But yeah, that's on brand. That's on brand.
Anyway, we will return to them in a moment. We go back to Saren and the Crimson Guard. And this is when they have this awesome attack where they put her in formation. She's like in the center of these, the 4 in front, 4 behind, and her in the center. She's got a sword. They've got lances. And they just start skewering dudes.
Get them. Because those people, like, they have the horses because those people had, like, set houses on fire. They killed this family.
And they're raping.
The horses were still locked up. That's why they were talking about those friggin' saddles and whatever. And so they rode the saddles that they got from the burning barn in to get the guys who were burning the barn down.
Yeah. Doing the most horrible stuff. Horrible people doing horrible things. And this is when Saren is like, I want to just torture them. Yeah. I want them to feel pain. And we have iron bars killing them quickly and not letting her near them to protect her from herself, from that impulse.
Yeah. And then I loved the scene where she looks at Iron Bars and she's like, I've been meaning to thank you for like killing those guys who hurt me, especially in the way that you did. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're like, I'm glad to hear that you're like not so mad that I pulled you out of the water from killing yourself. And she's like, hey, hold on, I'm not going to thank you for that yet. I'm not done wanting that to be my choice. But like, this is where I feel like I go maybe a little off the rails and I'm just like purely word association. But like her sort of descent into this space and her being like, it's interesting how when you like kill somebody, it actually is bringing calm. They become calm. Things become calm.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't we meet a character named Calm?
Ooh, yeah, but wasn't Calm a Four Course of Sail or something? Wasn't she like a?
I think that she was just all crushed up under a rock. I don't remember what she was. I just remember that her name was Calm, and she's like, "Oh, I bring calm because I kill everything."
Whoa, you are so good at making these connections. I wonder if that is a thing. That's a pretty awesome dot connection. If that's true, kudos.
It could just be word association and Saren
I thought
having a similar emotion and probably just because she literally says they die and everything becomes calm, and I'm like, calm wants to kill everybody. Wow. And so it could just be the same word, but it was like a similar sentiment as well.
My recollection of that character who was trapped under the rock was that she was not a human, that it was a species that was super powerful and like a Four-Quirted Sail or something.
I remember her not being human.
Yeah.
But I don't remember in what way. Whether she was actually
if you just
godly,
made that connection, that's pretty rad.
Whether she was like just like more godly. I think that she was like all bent up under the rock just because she was crushed by a rock.
Right.
I think I do remember something about like the little hand sticking out and being like, hi. And maybe the hand had multiple digits. So you could be right. Again, I think it's totally just word association or sentiment association. But I just thought it was interesting.
Man, that is cool. That would be cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the end of the scene or end of the chapter. Is Saren kind of just looking at the hair and blood on her sword that was caught, and
don't even want to clean it off.
Doesn't want to clean it off. Yeah,
it's important that people should know that this blade is not suddenly clean. It's doing something important, and what that thing that's important that is doing is ending the people who are meanies.
Dark stuff, but very powerful. I love Saren's journey and how she's been pushed over the edge, and Iron Bar's like trying to pull her back from that edge. Mm-hmm. It's very compelling. All this stuff is just so beautifully drawn out, and you see the progression of. It's funny to me. I don't know if you have clocked into this, but Erikson wrote a pretty notorious Facebook post years ago, reacting to people saying he doesn't have good characterization, and I'm like, you must not read these books. Like the characterization, it's incredible.
I have no idea how anybody could possibly feel that way. It's flabbergasting. Yeah, I agree. And like even just like with the difference between Saren and Iron Bars, when he rescued Saren, was going to kill that person slowly because he felt that's what they deserved.
Yeah.
And then the thinnest line that Saren crosses over into enjoying that moment.
Yeah.
Like on paper, kind of seeking the same type of thing that Iron Bars was gonna do.
Yeah.
But Iron Bars did it because it was like the right punishment. And Saren doing it because it like that enjoyment is just like a darker twist on the same idea, like the nuance of that. Yeah. And seeing that and seeing Iron Bars be like, oh, we can't talk this way in front of Saren because I can see that it's that is like spiraled into this dark path. It is so specific. Yeah. I just
yeah.
But terrible characterization though.
These were incredible chapters. I thought. I just
Yeah.
utterly thrilling, nonstop. Like every scene equally compelling, and even though we're going to wildly different parts of what's going on, it's just and funny. You know, we get these wonderfully funny, you know,
Interludes.
like the fact that you can put that back to back is impressive as well. Yeah, Midnight Tides, so good.
Yeah, and the next chapter, brace yourself. I think all the things that I've been thinking about are coming into your head because it's called Midnight Tides, and there's been a lot of talk about water. I'm sorry, that made me laugh personally all week at like just how silly that is.
Let's talk about our favorite sections. I have 2, possibly 3.
My Kindle is really taking its time loading them for some reason, so you start us off, please.
I shall. Okay. Here is the conversation between Kurokan and Briss. That is, I thought, very apropos of our times. Our manic accumulation of wealth, Kurokan went on. Our headlong progress, as if motion was purpose and purpose inherently virtuous. Our lack of compassion, which we called being realistic. The extremity of our judgments, our self-righteousness, all a flight from death. All a vast denial, smothered in semantics and euphemisms. Bravery and sacrifice, pathos and failure, as if life is a contest to be won or lost, as if death is the arbiter of meaning, the moment of final judgment, and above all else, judgment is a thing to be delivered, not delivered unto.
Excellent, Paul. I think that I had that same one. Mine are not loading at all for some reason.
Oh, no.
But I do have one that I just am remembering, and then I'll try and scrub through while you give me your next one. This one is right at the very beginning. It just made me laugh so hard. The drunk far below was climbing from the canal, swearing in more languages than the Tehal believed existed. Will you listen to that? Atrocious to hear such, no doubt, foul words uttered with such vehemence. Wait, hold on. That's no drunk. That's my manservant. Tehal waved and shouted, Bug, what are you doing down there? Is this what I pay you for? The sodden manservant was looking upward, and he yelled something back at Tehal that Tehal could not make out. What? What did you say? You don't pay me. Oh, tell everyone, why don't you?
It's so great. So great.
The immediate turn. Immediate turn is so funny. I
can't hear what you're saying.
What is that?
Why didn't you tell everybody? So great. So great. It's like classic comedy. I mean, it just works.
Bug can do no right. Clean it up in here, buddy.
All right, I'll do 2 more. This one, this is Troll and Fear arguing, and Fear says, our emperor cannot be stopped. His power does not but grow. And Troll says, you're seeing this wrong, Fear. He paused, looking over. What do you mean? Our emperor cannot be stopped? I do not see it that way. All right. How do you see it, Troll? Our brother is doomed to die countless deaths. Die, rise, and die again. Our brother, Fear, the youngest among us. That is how I see it. And now I am to embrace the power that has done this to Rulad. I am to serve it, lend it my skills with the spear. I am to carve an empire for it. Are his deaths without pain, without horror? Is he not scarred? How long, Fear, can his sanity hold on? There he stands, a young warrior bedecked in a gold nightmare, his flesh puckered and mangled, and weapons shall pierce him. He knows it. He knows he will be killed again and again. I love that.
It's so good. And like that specific touch on like the youngest among us. It's like,
He's our brother. He's our young brother. We're supposed to protect him. And we're just going to let him be murdered over and over and over again? He's this awful horror and we're supposed to kneel before that?
Yeah. And him being like, we didn't touch on it even when we went through that scene, but Charles specifically digging to the heart of like, at least with Hanan, we felt like we understood what he was praising. Right. And now with Rulal, there is a power there that we don't understand. What God are we serving? What magic is this? What faith are we believing in by following him? It's
we know it's not him. We know there's something behind it, and we're just going to be okay with not knowing what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good.
So good.
I found another one of mine just by tabbing through here.
Yeah.
And it is Udanas looking out at the water.
Oh, so good.
The corpse beyond the pier was barely visible, a pallid patch resisting the roll of the waves. The shark that rose alongside it to make a sideways lunge was one of the largest ones Udanas had yet seen during the time that he'd sat looking out on the harbor, his legs dangling from the jetty's edge. Gulls and sharks, the feast lasting the entire morning. The slave watched, feeling like a spectator before nature's incessant display, the inevitability of the performance leaving him oddly satisfied. Entertained, in fact. Those who were owed, they sat equally sweet in the bellies of the scavengers, and this was a thing of wonder.
So good.
Equally sweet in the bellies.
So good. All right, this is a little bit long, but I think it's absolutely incredible. This will be my last one. The Letheri had nearly wiped the Tarthanol out back then, as close to absolute genocide as they had ever come in their many conquests. She recalled a line from an early history written by a witness of that war. They fought in defense of their holy sites with expressions of terror, as if in failing something vast and terrible would be unleashed. Saren looked around. The only thing vast and terrible in this place was the pathos of its abandonment. Such dark moments in Letheri history were systematically disregarded, she knew, and played virtually no role in their culture's vision of itself as bringers of progress, deliverers of freedom from the fetters of primitive ways of living, the cruel traditions and vicious rituals. Liberators, then, destined to wrest from savage tyrants their repressed victims in the name of civilization. That the Letheri then imposed their own rules of oppression was rarely acknowledged. There was, after all, but one road to success and fulfillment, gold cobbled and maintained by Letheri toll collectors, and only the free could walk it. If that's not America, can't talk about all the horrible things we've done in the past. Not going to mention those things. Because we're good. We're the liberators.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we good? All the money we make.
Yeah. Oh, you struggle here? Well, that's because you still owe us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to pull you out of your savage ways and into the enlightenment of capitalism.
Yeah. This is freedom. This is freedom. I also had that scene highlighted. I love that whole passage.
So eloquent in its insight.
I have two others that are just a single sentence.
Awesome.
Belief in destiny delivered its own imperatives.
Yeah.
And then one more, one that made me giggle that I am getting to.
It's that American exceptionalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's speaking directly to that. Powerfully so. And
like, if this is my destiny, it's like, yeah, that means everything that you can do that serves yourself. If you think that you are destined for this thing,
then it doesn't matter who you harm on the way.
I'm going as fast as I can.
Well, I can tell folks that next week we're back to doing 2 chapters, I believe. And very excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Lana has one more sentence.
Lana,
I'm getting you a new Kindle. That's what I'm doing.
I don't know why this is happening to me. But I know as soon as I like leave it, it's going to show up. Here it is. Sorry. It's Taeyeol again talking to Bug right after he sees that his bod's all scarred up. And he's like, something's going on with you.
Yeah.
And Bug is saying, where are we going? And Taeyeol says, familiar territory for you, or so I was surprised to discover. You are a man of many mysteries, Bug. Occasional priest, healer, the waiting man, consorter with demons, and worse. Were I not so self-centered, I'd be intrigued.
Yeah. Love Taeyeol.
I love it because he like says that out loud about like, I only care about myself, but like everything he said is clearly like, I care, I'm watching you. And everything we've seen is like, he has so much knowledge, but being like, but I'm only thinking about myself. We all know that, right? Right?
Yeah.
Love it.
It's a mask of ineptitude.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you, folks. Remember, you can suggest topics for the beginning of the show, dlcfeedback@gmail.com, or in the Discord, which is 5x5DLC on Discord, or in the YouTube comments. We appreciate any way you want to reach out to us. And thank you for watching. Thank you for reading along. 20 and 21 next week. We'll see you then.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. Join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the Book Club by DLC.